Hi, I'm Will Sedgwick.
I'm Gabe.
And this is Inside the Bot.
Right, how you doing, bud? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
What's been happening today? It's confession time. Get yourself into the confessional box. I'm going to be the who's the person?
The priest.
The father. Oh, that's weird. I'll be the priest. Okay, what have you got to confess?
I slept in today.
And what badness did that cause?
Well, I was meant to be interviewing Ray at 5 a.m.
Yes.
I interviewed Ray at about 6:30 a.m.
And what time did I message you?
You did message me at 4:37.
Yes.
However, I've got no excuse. I didn't set enough alarms.
I didn't have an alarm and I still woke up.
Yeah, but you're an old man.
I'm not. I'm just saying. I get up early. I know if I know something's happening. We talked about this has been Christmas.
I know, it's Robot Christmas today.
It was Robot Christmas today, and you slept in.
Who sleeps in on Christmas? I'm an idiot.
You missed the smoked salmon with scrambled eggs on waffles.
So I slept in.
Yeah, and luckily,
Ray is amazing.
He's the kindest person in the world. He loves giving more in generally you not pissing him around for an hour and a half whilst you are sleeping.
Oh, I'm so annoyed with myself.
Poor Ray sat there at his bloody in the middle of the night waiting for you to
It's not the middle of the night for him.
Yes, it is. It was the middle of the night.
It was 9 o'clock.
In the morning then. He sat there. He's been up all night.
9 o'clock.
No.
In the evening for him.
Okay, well, he's been sat there like a lemon going...
I know. I'm really sorry.
English limey guys. It's not going to help him. It's not helping the Anglo-American relationships.
I know.
This is what happened to Boston. But all over again, Boston, because someone slept in and the tea got dragged in the harbour.
But actually,
and then there was
you sound more annoyed with me than Ray did.
I know. That's what... Because I'm doing it on his behalf. He's nice.
I've already slain myself on my own behalf.
Well, what have you done?
I haven't done anything per se, but I've been very annoyed at myself.
As your priest, I'm going to say the only thing that's going to do is a scourge. You're going to have to scourge your back with some 8-gauge wire. There you go. I think, and let's say no more of it. What are we having today? Do you know what? We got Ray Billings coming on, which is going to be amazing.
It's going to be so good.
We have.
Well, it was so good.
We've pre-recorded it, so we're going to do this bit, and you're going to have to listen whilst you wait for Ray. It's definitely worth waiting for, but we have other stuff to do before we get to that point.
Yes, news.
The news. Do you know any news?
Robot Wars is coming back.
Ooh, Robot Wars is coming back. Yes, that's exciting, isn't it? We've been waiting for that, and it was announced. So all the teams are applying now, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to do a rundown of who's applying, who's confirmed.
Well,
will anyone ever be? I mean, when that happens, we'll be announcing it as it happens, I guess.
I'm not sure people are allowed to. You apply, and then I guess
people have said they're applying, though, right?
Oh yeah.
So we can talk about who's applied, who isn't applying, though.
So who hasn't applied?
Storm 2. They're not going to be applying for this series because they want to improve their robot. I think it's a bit of a crap excuse.
Do you know what? With the Storm 2 Technology Centre, I know. I think they can do anything they like. I think there's a lot of maybe laying about.
I just think...
What, run out of ideas?
I mean, they got a new sponsor quite recently. They're going to be annoyed, surely.
I'm rightly furious, actually, I think. I mean... They've gone, what, there's a robot competition you don't want to do? I'm furious.
A televised robot competition.
Televised robot competition.
I mean, even if you're not going to do that well, I mean, they got to the final of their heat last time, so...
Who can tell? Who can tell?
It's a solid robot.
They're just not feeling it, maybe.
Well, they said they want to work on their speed.
We'll put bigger motors in.
But then that blew up the speed controllers, or we didn't have the batteries that could handle it.
Ed, what are you doing, Ed?
You've got 6 weeks to put new motors in and test them out.
Not 6 weeks, you've got longer than that. It's December, isn't it?
It's December.
You've got like 8 weeks, Ed. Come on, I want you to reapply, sir. Or apply if you haven't applied in the first place and push through like a hero. Search for the hero.
Don't just apply.
Search for the hero inside yourself, Ed. There's a song there.
Don't just apply. Apply yourself.
Apply yourself. And I always wondered about that song. When it says search for the hero, are you meant to have a good rummage inside yourself? I mean, do you have a rummage about, and where do you go in? Do you go in through which passage?
It's more of a metaphorical search.
You're not meant to actually have a little probe.
Definitely
I
not.
tried searching myself, and I'm sorry.
Is that why you were walking funny last week?
Yeah, it was. Said, well, can't you step up to the plate? I thought, I'll search for the hero inside myself. And it didn't go well.
That's terrible.
So that's that news. I've got some other news.
Good. I'm glad we're not ending on that.
I discovered this week, very excitingly, there was a documentary made.
Oh, yeah? Go on.
In, I think, 2010, and it's called Bots High. Now, before you get excited...
I'm already excited.
It's about robots, and it's about robot builders at high school.
Okay.
And it was made around our good friends... Well, I'm not sure which competitions, but Greg and Trey are in it.
What?
And, yeah, and I think it's that they run the main national competition for this high school thing. And basically it follows a load of bot builders. Mm-hmm. And it's a really good documentary. It follows the bot builders through all their stuff and then go into this competition. And who should be the star? Our good friend, Mr. Bales.
The most handsome bot builder.
A young Balesy. And do you know what? Tyler and Alex, we know their names now.
Oh, brilliant.
They're in it as well. And, even weirdly, the woman and the dude from Ice Wave, and they're not together at that point.
All right.
Because he's a bit older than her, and she's probably inappropriate because she's at school. But saying that, no, it happened. They fell in love. They're older now. And then, weirdly, Balesy took the lady from Ice Wave to prom.
Bots High? Bots High prom?
No, whatever.
Or real high prom?
No, they're
Balesy's high prom?
His prom, yeah. Oh. Which is amazing. Little snippet at the end there.
I'm sure they were just friends.
No, it just say just as friends.
Good.
Which was nice. Also...
Otherwise we'd stumbled on some kind of...
weird robot
controversy.
Mike Galetti.
Yeah.
Galetti.
Oh, yeah.
He's in it.
Lately.
He's in it. Right.
Brilliant.
And I think, I'm not sure, but there's a girl who looks like Andrea Suarez, but isn't. But I reckon it's her sister.
Okay.
So he may have been helping there. Again, he's an older chap.
I mean, I know
mentoring.
They live near to each other, don't they?
They live near the sister. He helped with the sister, and maybe, here's my older sister. And then that was it, and that was nice as well. But, so
Brilliant.
What's weirdly...
Can we get a hold of this, or are you going to do every episode?
No.
Are you going to talk us through what happened on every episode?
I just want to give you a really good thing. If you want to see the main bot builders from BattleBots today...
when they were younger.
8 years ago, when they're all running about really excited, watch this thing. You can find it by putting Bots High into Google.
Yeah.
It'll come up. You can watch it on iTunes. You can watch it on the link from their website. And there's lots of other places. So it's 50 minutes long. It's well worth a watch.
It's just one documentary?
Yeah. It's got... But they basically... if you
made it sound like it was a regular slot on some... MTV or something.
No, don't get excited.
Oh,
but it's a really it's a really nice documentary.
Okay.
And it's really I know that person. If you love your BattleBots, watch this thing here, because you'll see everyone there looking really cool, and you can see where there's a witch doctor is in it, the robot, but not what you think it's going to look like.
I think I've seen some old
You can see the inspiration for Mr. Bales's Hypershock. He's got a robot called Fluffy in it, which is really cool. You can see, there's so much happening. So it basically centres around, I'd say it centres around the lady from Ice Wave, and I don't remember her name, and Mr. Bales. And it's really well worth watching. So that's a really cool piece of news, and I would say that everyone should definitely watch it.
It's not really news, it's old.
It's a discovery, so it's news.
Okay. Gabe has discovered, that is the news bit. Gabe has discovered a thing.
Yeah, and I've been helping people out.
Awesome.
There you go.
Okay. So what have you been up to, Gabe?
So as everyone's aware, we've got...
You've just been polishing Sabretooth, yeah?
Robot Wars is coming.
Is it shiny?
It's very shiny.
Excellent.
It's going to be special. I've been working on my soldering. So basically I'm just doing completely rewiring it at the moment to make it look extra special. And do you know what? I'm going to promise, I'm going to put this out here now, that you are going to love Sabretooth.
Okay.
This time round. Everyone out there, you're going to love Sabretooth.
Now, what
I'm excited for it.
Everyone is going to ask is, can it be destroyed by a flipper? Have you got a Shremek?
Have I got a Shremek?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
There is that built in. So
Will it work?
I can tell you now,
Yep.
it'll definitely work.
100%.
100%.
Awesome. Well,
It's going to be a beast.
In that case, I might.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, I really love
you.
doing. If you want to look through my body of work as an artist, just go on the Robot Wars wiki, and you can see all the robots we've built.
Okay.
For the team. They look really cool. I just looked at it the other day. I don't look at it very often. I looked at it the other day, and you can see the Sabertooths right from the beginning. And I'd love to have them all in a set next to each other. That would be really cool. So I want to Photoshop them all together. That would be awesome because they all look like they come from the same stable. And I was really pretty pleased that, it's just my little thing that they all looked, you can see the progression and they always belong to each other. You can always tell what Sabertooth looks like. And that's important.
Is the crazy Series 7 one there?
Yes, they're all there, yeah. And what I really like is accidentally, the Series 7 one has got holes all down it, so like black holes. And then the newest one has also got those black...
Yeah,
and well, that's a nice little nod, totally accidental, but it's just like a nice little whoops over to it. So that was really cool. So inside the shop, basically, I'm doing a lot of wiring, up to all the gauges of all the wires, take a lot more current, a lot more voltage.
Oh, sweet.
So... we've got some lovely graphene batteries, which you saw. They come so fancy.
Yeah.
They look like chocolates. So, yes, exciting stuff. But enough of this business. I want to hear from Ray.
I want to hear from Ray. So Ray joined us this morning.
He did. Well, what I'm gonna do is I wasn't...
You weren't there.
Because the thing is, I'd love to talk to Ray, but there's just too many people talking. So I always say, take a back seat, let Will do the old driving in that one.
We'll get up at...
Get up. Excuse me, I actually was awake, though. I should have done it. And
then
then
we'll get up at 10 to 6.
Just completely ruin it. So let's hear from Ray.
Take it away, me. So, Ray, I'm going to introduce you. You're Ray Billings. And if you haven't watched BattleBots Season 2, stop listening. Because Ray won BattleBots Season 2. When I was putting it on Facebook and Twitter, I didn't want to say, because obviously in the UK it hasn't aired.
Right.
And a lot of our people who like our page have just watched Robot Wars and then BattleBots Season 1. So
right.
I just put I'd put like BattleBots contender. But you are, of course, the reigning champion of Season 2.
Okay, so as I'm answering questions, do I answer them from right where I'm at right now, or do I pretend Season 2 hasn't happened?
Don't pretend Season 2 hasn't happened. Let's keep it in the now. And shall we go through your robots that you've had since the start? Could you take me through? Way back when.
Wow. Yeah, now we're going to go through quite a bit. My first event was BattleBots 4 in 2001. So this had been 15 years ago. And it was a middleweight thwackbot named Darkness.
Yeah.
And certainly not in the same kind of power league of anything I built since then. But I did okay for back then. I think I went 3-1 both Season 4 and Season 5. So I was right on the edge of being seeded for the television rounds if they had done another one back then. So when they got canceled, I was right on the edge of being seeded for TV, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. If you look at Darkness, it does look like someone's done something strange to Tombstone.
Yeah, well, a lot of the same made by hand welded steel type construction. I mean, you can see some similarities there. But obviously there isn't anywhere near the refinement or the raw power that I've developed since then. After BattleBots went off go ahead.
Sorry, why did you start with a quite a simple? Was that just so you could learn to build robots? Yeah, because at the time I didn't have any real robotic background at all. So this was just it started out as just a father-son project between me and my boy. And I had no intention for it to be a lifelong passion. It was just something. Hey, this would be cool. Let's give this a shot. Awesome. So you had Darkness, and then
right. After BattleBots went off the air, I built a few more of that, basically that same thwackbot type design for a couple of years. But I got tired of getting my butt kicked. So my first real spinner was a heavyweight called Shin Splitter.
Okay.
And it's very, very similar to the Last Right's Tombstone design that I've built since then. And it was a good robot. I won a lot of really nasty matches with it and whatnot, and it showed me the potential of what I was building, and I've just been slowly refining it since then.
after that? Last Rites?
Last Rites is probably the heavyweight that most people would know me for. I've actually built quite a few different heavyweight robots, but that's the one that sort of put me on the map, because I went from being a good contender but a middle-of-the-pack type guy to a guy that legitimately stood a chance of winning any event I showed up at. And that would have been Last Rites that probably put my name on the map.
And then, of course, Tombstone.
Yeah, Tombstone. The original build for Tombstone was a 340-pound super heavyweight.
Okay.
So that was probably 2004, I think, when I built that. And
were you just looking to do some house demolitions with that or something?
Yeah, it's funny because it's amazing how much oomph they have at the 340-pound. I mean, it's just a lot of robot. I was going to see if I could find somebody that had like an abandoned telephone pole and see if I could cut it off the ground, But after that, then that was about the time when the Combots Cup events started, and I really felt like I had to devote my time to one weight category or the other. I couldn't build a super heavyweight and a heavyweight. And so I just decided that the heavyweight was the one that I was going to devote my time to, and that's when I built Last Rites.
Cool.
And so, that's competed since, was it 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. It's competed since then until now. It's still a current robot that I compete with now.
Awesome. And that is the abridged history of Ray.
Yeah, kind of. There's been a lot of other little robots I've built along the way. Some 30-pounders, a couple of 60-pounders. I built a lot that didn't have any real intention on being, competitive. Great Pumpkin or, Swamp Thing. These are robots that were built to be entertaining rather than competitive, And so I've built a lot of robots along the way, but the big, heavy bar spinners are still the one that I devote my most time to.
So let's go back. How did it all begin?
How did I get started in the sport?
Yeah, how did it all begin?
Okay. When I first decided I was going to build something, I actually worked at that time at an adult college teaching computer networking. And my boss was really into watching the show, the BattleBots show on TV, on Comedy Central.
Yep.
And so him and I got the idea that we would build something together. Now, I had a lot of mechanical background, fabrication background, and he had a lot of electronic background. And so it seemed like a real good project for him and I to start on. Unfortunately, after we started getting the idea of what we were going to do, he ended up changing jobs. Life took him in a different direction. And it's, something that him and I never got the chance to really do together, but that's where the seed got planted, and it got stuck in my head that I wanted to do this.
Okay. So, and that was for Darkness?
That was for Darkness, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, my old boss, Pete, if you're listening, it's all your fault.
So, what was the process of entering and being on BattleBots back then like?
You had to submit basically a package describing what it was you were going to take. Essentially, they wanted to know what weight category, how many people you're bringing on the pits, things like that. It wasn't quite as in-depth of the process as it is now. As long as you submitted your package in time, you were good to go, you know. Today it's a little different. You have to get reviewed, and they have to pick who they want on the show, so it's a little more selective. But back then there was just, they let anybody who wanted to show up compete, and then they just only used the quarterfinals on out to show on the TV. So they had a lot of matches that just never made it to television.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Robot Wars used to be like that as well, I believe, in the UK.
Right, yeah. Where you just get anybody who wanted to apply could apply, and then they'd have to work through the prelims before they got to the TV rounds. And so it actually was kind of not fair, because the guys that were seeded for TV, they didn't have to fight 3 or 4 matches ahead of everybody else, So by the time we got to the TV rounds, all of us were already beat up from kicking the snot out of each other. And, it made it hard to break into that elite group back when BattleBots was on before.
Yeah, Gabe, who does this with me, is always very keen to point out that he's won fights in the preliminary rounds, but just not televised fights.
Yeah, well, and that was the same for me. I mean, I actually did make it to the TV rounds, but immediately lost, and so I never got shown on any of the original Comedy Central series, even though I was actually a pretty competitive robot. I think it went 6-2 or 7-2, something like that, over the two seasons. It was a pretty good robot, but just not quite good enough to get onto the TV part of it.
Yeah. Did you enjoy your time doing the first BattleBots?
Absolutely. There was, today when they have people submit and they get on the show and whatnot, you kind of know who's going to be there before it all goes down. You already know who's going to show up. You already kind of know what they're bringing. Back then, it was kind of like a big unknown thing. You submitted, you got approved, and then when you showed up, there were 500 or 600 robots in the pits, and you could spend 3 or 4 days just wandering around looking at everybody's builds, and I could stand there 12, 15 hours a day just talking to people because it was just so interesting to hear everybody's stories and see what their build philosophy was, and their story to get to the pits where they were sitting there. Before we even got in the arena, it was already exciting.
Yeah, I bet. So it's kind of like a festival atmosphere back in the pits, I guess.
Very much so, very much so. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still just as friendly today in the pits. Obviously, when you're in the pits, there's a big sense of camaraderie between you and the other competitors. There was just more of it back then because there was just so many people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there were almost 600 robots in that one series. So there was a couple of thousand competitors. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just an immense amount of really cool people in one building. I mean, you could just spend forever talking to these people and still continue to learn things. Every pit table you walked to, you had a new story, you had a new friend to meet, Do
you think it'll ever get back to that level of people in the pits, or it can't really now?
Yeah, honestly, with the way the filming arrangement is set now, and don't get me wrong, I like what they're doing now. I think it's much better than what they've done before. But I don't think it can ever get back to that. I don't think we could ever get to the point where we have that many competitors. The way TV does it now, it just wouldn't work. Back then they had an event and they told the TV people, try to keep up if you can, and they just did their thing, and they caught whatever they could on video. It's a little more controlled now. Now the TV people are running the entire schedule, and we do a lot of hurry up and wait stuff as far as the competitors go. And I just don't think they would ever be able to get back to that kind of size, at least not for BattleBots for TV.
Yeah.
Events like RoboGames are still very big, and so you get a lot of stuff there because you'll have, hundreds of robots competing there too. And so the non-televised events could probably do that, but I don't think the televised ones ever could again.
That's cool. What I love when you watch an old BattleBots fight is you don't really get any of that. They go to their house and they film them, and then they'll have a little chat, and they're like, "Oh, look out, Tombstone, I'm coming for you." They don't get any of that. Yeah. It's just it's like 10 seconds before they start the fight. The camera zooms in on like the robot here, and he'll go, well, the builder, and he'll go, I'm gonna mush him up.
Well, it's funny for season 1 for the ABC reboot, they did come out to some of the houses and talk to people. I was one of the people they came out and talked to. And they used a little bit of that on TV. They also came out and did home packages for season 2, and they didn't use any of that in the show. And, I think they're probably not going to from this point forward. I think they're just going to focus on just what happens at the venue, which I understand, but, you do kind of miss some of that, I'm going to tear you up stuff. You don't get quite as much of that,
Yeah. But, that's what this show's for.
Absolutely.
Perfect. I mean, they've really helped me out there. So
yeah, well, I'll say it now. Anybody showing up for season 3, I'm gonna tear them up.
I mean, I don't think you have to say that anymore. I think it's kind of assumed.
The thing is, I mean, everybody can lose. Everybody loses matches. I lose matches too. But you better think you're going to win, or there's no reason for you to show up.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you should. It's competition. You should think you have a chance at winning. You better think you're going to show up and do something. That's That's the point of competition. None of those guys at a NASCAR race show up and think, you know what, I'm going to come in last. None of them think that. Even the guy that probably is going to come in last, he still thinks he's going to win or has a chance.
The great thing is, whenever you speak to anyone who's like gone out of BattleBots, so I spoke to Al, spoke to Will Bales, and whenever they say, well, if the fight had gone a different way, I think we could have gone on into the competition and won it. And you're like, yeah, well, of course you think that. And it's the same for everyone, I think. Awesome.
Well, and the thing is, you're talking to all really good competitors. Yeah, Will's really good. Al's really good. These are guys that get it. They absolutely get it. And they could come back for 8 or 10 years in a row and never win it, and every time still think, you know what, this is my year. I'm going to get it this time.
Definitely. So after the first lot of BattleBots, we had the dark times when it was not on TV.
Right.
What did you spend your time doing? Were you knitting, or was it?
No, I kept competing continuously in that entire time.
Yeah.
So when BattleBots decided to come back, it was actually a pretty opportune time for me personally, because I went from being a middle-of-the-pack guy way back when to genuinely an elite-level guy at the top of the pile. And, it's all those years in between where I was slowly refining what I was building that got me there. Because it's always about small changes over time. It's not, drastic wholesale changes. It's always about make a little tweak here, make a little tweak there, and, go in the arena and see what breaks and then fix it again. So I had, 10 years of that between when BattleBots went off the air and when they came back. I spent that entire time building for almost any event I could go to in that time period.
Were there many heavyweight events around in the U.S.?
Quite a few, actually. There were 2 a year historically in the San Francisco Bay Area. So there was Robo Games and Combat's Cup. And those were the big heavyweight events in that time frame. There's been a couple elsewhere. There was the NPC event that was back in Minnesota. There was a couple events down in there was one in Louisiana, one in Texas, one in Florida. So there's been a few heavyweight events elsewhere, but most of them have been here in California.
So then BattleBots is back. How did you get involved with that for season 1?
Well, yeah, the thing is, for the first season 1. Basically, they didn't throw out an open invitation. They contacted who they wanted to be on the show. So it was basically by invite only. And at that time, BattleBots is also centered in the San Francisco Bay Area. So, they knew of the Robo Games events and the Combat's Cup events. In fact, they went to many of them.
Yeah.
So they already had a good idea who was the top of the field that was competing at that time. And, so BattleBots, they contacted some of those current people and said, hey, we're going to get back on the air. Would you like to be part of it? And then they contacted a lot of their heavyweight builders from back in the day, the ones that competed when they were on the show before. Because, these people, the ones that competed before, had helped them to be a successful show. So they're gonna go back and contact those folks, too. So it was kind of a mix of new and old for that first season.
Let's just talk about season 1 for a second.
No, I don't want to talk about season 1. I didn't win that one.
You made quite an impact when you fought against Counter Revolution.
Yeah, that was it's funny because there were a couple of big hitters for season 1. Ice Wave obviously packed a big punch.
Yeah.
But the reality for the big tear 'em up type of power, I kind of felt like I had to carry the show, to be honest with you. And so, I went out of my way to be as, demonstrating of power as I could. And, to some degree, I think that played really well for the show. I think that's one of the reasons that they got renewed, is because the matches were so cool and the things in that regard.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily best for me personally in that regard, because I put a lot of extra wear and tear on the robot that I probably could have avoided at a couple of different spots, because it was like, put on the big hit, let's spray parts all over the place. And sometimes it was in spots where I kind of didn't really need to do that because I'd already had the match won at that case. And so, I put a lot of extra wear and tear on the robot in season 1, and that's part of the reason why I came up short in the finals. When it came around to season 2, I was a man possessed. I had one goal, and that was to get to the finals and win. There wasn't any extra side trips for me at all. I had one goal in mind, and that was to make it to the finals.
Yeah, that definitely came across. It was season 1 where you spilled your guts out, didn't you?
Yeah, that was in the. It was basically it was in the match against Bronco.
Yeah.
Okay? And Bronco's an absolutely tough machine. In fact, I think if he'd have beat me in that match, I think he would have won season 1. I think he would have mopped the floor with Paul in the final. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
So it would have been a matchup I think that they should have had. And I was, every time because I had him crippled, he couldn't drive anymore, but every time they'd pop that flipper and jump, they'd start the countdown over again. They weren't counting him out like he was knocked out. And so I ended up with a couple of hits there right at the end that I probably could have avoided. And one of them, twisted the frame upside down. The top came off, and all my batteries spilled out. And it looked great for the camera because it looked, it was horrible to me. But, I mean, it put on a show. And, I did. I damaged that set of batteries, and I went to a backup set of batteries in the final, which I set on fire. I mean, it's funny in the final for season 1. You could see the battery smoke a little bit. You could see the weapon stop working. When the match was over, I'm being interviewed and I'm shaking hands and I'm doing all of that stuff for the TV part of it. The rest of my team, they take the robot outside. As soon as they take the cover off and you get the fresh oxygen in there, they had like a 20-foot fireball coming out of the robot. It's back there with this big, huge fire coming out of it, and they're, it's not like you can use extinguishers on lithium when it's burning. It just wants to keep going. So, I'm inside smiling and shaking hands and all this stuff. I have no idea that they're all outside trying to keep it from melting into a puddle on this, outside the building.
Oh my goodness, nightmare. So. So, do you think season 1 not exposed your weaknesses, but kind of exposed your weaknesses? You kind of figured out what you needed to improve for next year, and you went away, and I think you could probably get a Gillette sponsorship with the amount of blades you've got now.
Well, part of the thing was between when we had a contract and we had to show up to fight for season 1 was only about 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so everybody that was showing up with the robot, either they were starting way ahead of time and gambling on the fact that there was going to be an event, or they were starting after we had a contract and they were hurrying to get ready for the event.
Yeah.
And in my case, I was kind of both. I had some parts made ahead of time, but I didn't build the frame. I didn't do a lot of the other stuff until we actually had a contract and we knew we were going to be on TV.
Yeah.
Well, between season 1 and season 2, I had a lot of time to think about the things I wanted to do differently, to plan what I was after, and felt a little more confident about making parts ahead of time. Even though we didn't know for sure we were going to be renewed, I felt we were going to be renewed, and I could go ahead and start the build process a little earlier. And some of it's just, I took a better robot for season 2 than I did season 1, and a lot of that is just simply that I had extra time to get it ready.
Okay. So what sort of things did you change? Apart from the obvious was the massive blade collection. What else was beefed up for season 2?
For season 1, I did not have the same titanium armor over the front, the blade support that I did for season 2. And, there's an extra amount of protection that comes from that, but it also stiffens the frame up quite a bit, so things don't flex as much. Mm-hmm. So it makes other things not as easy to break just because the robot itself is a little stiffer. It doesn't flex as much.
Okay.
My biggest change between the 2 years was the addition of the shock isolation mounts for the drivetrain. So for season 1, the drive motors were hard mounted to the frame. For season 2, they were on some rubber standoffs that absorb some of those shock loads. And I didn't lose a single drive motor for the entire event, which is unheard of for me. I'm usually destroying stuff like that right and left just from my own shock loads of hitting the other guy.
Yeah. So I did notice that in Season 2, actually. You were very much able to make a big hit, fly across the arena, and everything still works.
Right, yeah. It's not just about putting on the big hit. You got to actually be able to survive it, you know. And, I would say definitely the robot was more dependable for Season 2 than it was for Season 1.
And the first big test of that was Brutus, really.
I would agree. I would agree. And you know, I didn't really play that off too much on camera when it was filmed and whatnot. But I was actually sort of worried about that particular match because it's the type of weapon that could give me a hard time if he hit me the right way. It's definitely one that would be a handful if he planned and got the hits the way he wants. It would have been hard for me to deal with. So, you know, I made more changes to the robot for that match than I did for any of the other ones. I had a very specific bar that I was using just for uppercutters like that. And in order to use that, I had to strip all the armor off, and I had to go with lighter wheels because that bar that I used in the Brutus match was 84.5 pounds. It was very heavy.
Okay.
So, you know, it was a gamble on my part because I'm taking all the armor off. I'm going with the lightest wheels I have. All I have to do is breathe on those wheels and they'd come off.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a gamble on my part, and it was one I thought I had to take just because Brutus was a tough robot.
Yeah. How much weight did you save on the wheels, out of interest?
Those blue tire wheel assemblies are probably 3-ish pounds a piece, and the rubber NPC ones are about 6.5.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, we're talking 7-8 pounds total between the two sides, which is significant.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, put that into a weapon, and that's a big increase.
Yes, cool. Essentially, because that bar was 10 pounds heavier than the next heaviest bar.
Oh, okay.
So.
Cool. So then, I mean, you had some tough fights in Season 2, actually. You had Beta, which was an epic match as well.
Beta was far and away the toughest match I had for the event. Far and away.
Yeah.
It was the only one. It was the only match where I actually had damage that I had to fix. And it was the only one that, I mean, all the way up until the time they gave us the decision, I had no idea whether I'd won or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because there's a picture of John and I shaking hands and smiling outside, after the match was done. Neither one of us knew who won at that point in time, but we were both just so goddamn happy to have had such an awesome match.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're both grinning from ear to ear because it was an awesome match, and we had no idea who won at that point, you know?
I can't believe you took the hammer off, basically.
Yeah, well, and you know that was probably that last little bit is what gave me the win, in my opinion, because realistically, you know, he dented one of my top panels, and there was a couple of little tabs that got snapped off, so I had a couple things there to fix. But I mean, all I had to do was charge batteries, and I was ready to go again. He was irreparable. There was no way that was going to get fixed there. I mean, there was nothing left up there to put back together. So, you know, I think that was part of the reason why that last little bit right at the end when I just cut all the support for that hammer off, I think was the little piece that gave me the victory. It was a tough match, and I knew going into it was going to be a tough match, and yeah, it was. It was that armor of his is really tough. And he's got it, like, shock-mounted away from the rest of it. So when you hit it, it would kind of wiggle, and you couldn't bite it. You couldn't get a hold of it. And, you know, I knew after the first couple of hits that it was going to be a tough match because I just couldn't get a hold of him. I couldn't manage to dig into that armor to make him actually take my energy.
Yeah.
And he's such a good driver. It's not like he's going to back into me on purpose. I mean, he's as good as anybody when it comes to driving the robot.
Definitely.
So it was a tough match. It was really a tough match.
And then you had Yeti, which had somehow got to that stage of the competition through. I don't know how he got there.
Well, and you know what? Honestly, he didn't know how he got there either.
No, he wasn't expecting to get that far.
he was having such a good time, but when he finally lost to me afterwards, he come up to me and he goes, "Man, thank you. I haven't slept in 2 days trying to put this thing back together. I get to go lay down and sleep now, you know?"
But I mean, he gave it his all. He took your weapon out. What happened there?
Yeah, and one of the hits when I hit. If you watch it, you can see where he hits me is the weapon, instead of being out in front of me, it hits the weapon bar sort of angled off to the side, and it twists the front of the robot just enough that the chain came off.
Yeah, I noticed
so the chain that drives the chain that drives the weapon came off. Everything was still working. It just wasn't connected anymore. You know, and essentially those couple of hits basically killed both weapons. But I'd already pulled a couple of his tires off at that point in time, and you know, he just. It's weird that I would win a match by driving, but I was just able to out-drive him after that because he just didn't have full control of the robot.
Kind of a shame is the bombshell fight, because I think if they'd had their vertical spinner ready,
it would have been a much tougher match.
It would have been an interesting fight.
It would have been a much tougher match. I still think I would have won, okay, but it would have been a much tougher fight.
Well, we will never know until maybe season 3.
Yeah, they had damaged it too much in the match against Minotaur to be able to use it again. So it was no longer an option in their collection.
That was a shame, but I mean, you made it, bro. Season 2.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is, in order to get to the finals, you got to do everything right. You got to design well, you got to build well, you got to drive well, you got to repair well. But some of it just comes down to being lucky. And you know, when I got to the finals for season 1 and then I lost, you know, I spent a year kicking myself in the ass because I just assumed that I had my chance to get there to win it all, and I blew it. That was what was on my mind the whole time. So when we came back for season 2, I was focused. I had that one goal, was to get back there and do it again. So
you nailed it. So where'd you go now, Ray? I mean, are you entering Robot Wars?
You know, honestly, Robot Wars would be a blast. All events are. I mean, you're going to have fun no matter what event you go to, and I know it would be a lot of fun to come over there.
Yeah.
It's like every other event. It's time and money. I mean, it's. You know, their build cycle for this time around was pretty short between when they were, you know, gonna pick who they're going to be on the show and then when they want to film. There'd just be no way for me to have something ready in time.
I mean, surely you could get in touch a bit early, though, and just say, look, I'm Ray Billings. Have you got a slot for me?
Yeah, and you know, I've talked about it. I've thought about it. You know, I've even drawn up some designs that I think would. The reality is, a big bar spinner like mine probably wouldn't do too well over there with the pit and you know, things like that. I mean, you know, mine's a little. It's barely controlled chaos. That's what it is, and so. An arena with a pit just does not sound like fun for a big horizontal bar like mine.
What sort of design would you go for then?
Honestly, it would be something along the lines of the bombshell with the vertical spinner. Something built similar to that, I think, would do very well over there. You know, as long you guys got a lot of really good flippers that are with really sharp wedges. It'd be really hard to, you know, I'd live or die on whether I could get underneath them, and that would it's a different environment, so it's a different engineering challenge, and you know, it would be tough. I mean, I could win some matches over there, but you know, that doesn't mean I can walk across the pond and just, you know, here I am, I'm going to come win Robot Wars 2. I wouldn't expect that to happen. So, you know, in that regard, it would be fun because it would be just a different challenge than the stuff I've been doing here.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. So, have you been? And we're kind of moving on to fan questions here because everyone wants to know, have you been watching Robot Wars?
You know, I've watched some of it. I haven't watched all of it. I've watched some of it here and there. You know, there's some really cool robots. You know, it was Carbide here and named something different over there. Cobalt?
It's Carbide here.
Yeah.
It's
Carbide there. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Cobalt and BattleBots.
Cobalt here. Okay. I love the robot when it was here. I mean, when it first spun up in the test box out there, I'm like, yes, I like this. This is cool. Because it sounds very similar to mine when it spun up.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was, I thought they were a great build for over here. They had some unlucky breaks and didn't go very far in this event, but it was good to see them do. Yeah, I watched a couple of the matches they were in over there. Yeah. They looked really good. And then, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's a different environment. It's something that's cool. I don't know. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. You're getting me excited here. I don't know. Maybe I'll build for next year.
I'll be on your team, Ray.
Well, in that regard, I might need some help over there. So sure.
So we had a question from a guy called Ray, as well as you, actually, and he said, "How are you so astonishingly good-looking whilst also remaining so humble?" I think he's a big fan of yours.
Yeah, that's me. I'm a big fan of me. Yes, I am. It's nobody ever will tell me I don't have enough self-confidence. So I guess that was just me, playing around a little.
Oh, I thought you were actually going to give us some tips. Is it not skincare products?
No. I'm just naturally charming. I can't help it.
Well, so there's nothing any of us can do really. We'll never be
not a whole lot. No.
Oh, damn. A guy called Charlie sent this in. How do you mentally prepare for a fight? Do you have any pre-fight rituals? And is your preparation for live events different from televised?
I try not to let the fact that it's televised versus live play into my head when I'm there. Mm-hmm. I tend to be very focused, try to just drown out what's going on. Like, I don't really even hear the crowd and whatnot. I really just sort of focus on what's going on in front of me. Mm-hmm. As far as rituals, I have a specific Allen wrench that I use to turn the robot on and off. It's my lucky key.
Okay.
It's completely meaningless, and yet it's the one I always use to turn the robot on and off with.
If you lost it, would you still fight?
Oh my God! We've had some panic runs through the boxes in the pits trying to find that goddamn Allen wrench before. So I'll use another wrench to turn it on if I have to. But I have my lucky key, and so that's the one I always use. Something that you probably don't see on the camera, but when I'm there and I'm getting ready to fight, my foot is always leaning up against the rail. I have to be touching the arena.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but I need to be physically in contact with it, and I've convinced myself I can feel vibrations and things going on just by being in touch with it, that it makes it a more complete experience for me than if I was just standing away from it. Okay. So if you watch, you'll always see I have a foot leaned up against the rail.
I'm a bit worried.
right where if a piece broke off, it would come through and take my foot off. But that's okay because I still have my foot on the arena rail.
Wear thicker shoes, Ray.
Yeah. I've got some pretty heavy boots, but I don't think that would matter.
Potentially not. Yeah. So I think we've kind of covered this one actually. This is from I Am Totally Not Satan. And
well, good.
If you couldn't build a spinner as your next robot, what kind of bot would you build?
I've designed some different orientations of spinners, drum bots or a vertical spinner. I've done some stuff like that. If I just couldn't build a kinetic energy style robot like that, I don't know. I've actually got some ideas on building a small hammer robot, so that might be something that would be fun.
I mean, hammers are in.
Yeah. Well, there's an event back east here in the United States called Motorama. They only run up to 30 pounds, so it's a smaller event. Mm-hmm. But they have what they call the sportsman's class, where they limit. You can't have any high kinetic energy robots in there, so they get a little different designs there than they would for other events because the rules are a little different. Mm-hmm. And so I've got an idea for a hammer robot that's a little different than a hammer anybody else has built. So one of these days I might actually dive into it. It would be interesting if I got it built.
Well, I love a hammer robot, so I'm hoping you get round to it at some point.
It would be different than anything that you have seen as a hammer robot. I can tell you that.
Well, I'm worried and excited now. And
it's something that would only play well in the small category in the sportsman rules. It wouldn't play well anywhere else.
Okay.
But in that class, I think it could actually be pretty competitive.
Now, James has asked, which other builders can you drink under the table? Now, I'm not sure why he's asked this. I mean, I don't know if you're renowned for your...
Yes, actually, in that regard, I do enjoy the social aspects of going to robot events, and have been known to drink a little more alcohol than I probably should.
Okay.
There are multiples that I certainly can drink under the table, although I will freely admit there's a few that I don't really stand much of a chance against. There's some guys that can really put it away too.
Okay, so you're sort of middle of the roads in the...
Well, I'm probably a little heavier than middle of the road. I mean, there aren't too many folks that'll outdrink me, but
all right.
Yes, I do enjoy the social aspects of this sport.
It's been awesome talking to you, Ray. Shall we talk about your sponsors?
Sponsors would be cool.
Yeah.
Sponsors would be good. So my longest standing sponsor arrangement was with NPC Robotics. They make the drive motors and wheels that I use in virtually all of the heavier class robots that I've run. Mm-hmm. And it's been a great collaborative effort between me and them, because over the years, as I've taken their products and broke them horrendously, we've developed ways to make them better. And so, NPC stands for National Power Chair. They actually sell electric wheelchair motors. So through our collaboration in this regard, they make much better wheelchair motors now than they used to. And so it's been a really good collaboration between both of us. I've been really happy to have them, and they've been sponsoring me even back when there was no TV involved. So they were just doing it to stay involved in the sport. And so in that regard, they're the longest standing sponsor, and I love being involved with them.
That's really cool.
I've got the next one would be Vex Robotics. They make the speed controllers that a lot of us use. They make some mechanical parts. Mostly it's electronic stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're also the company that is responsible for the BattleBots toys that are out right now.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And so this has been cool, because obviously there's some electronics, and again some collaboration there. I've helped them design what they're selling now, and it's really cool now that the toys are being sold too. So I can go into Toys R Us and I can buy a little RC Tombstone, and it's really, really cool. They're a lot of fun to play with. The other two sponsors were new for this year. So the newest, the biggest one for me was Tormac. They're a company that makes machining equipment.
Yeah. So
they have, if you're gonna run a machine shop, you got big, super expensive big CNC machines, and they're super expensive and they're nice. If you're a hobbyist, you have your little itty-bitty mill at home, and don't get me wrong, you can do stuff with them, but there really wasn't anything in between those two extremes.
Yeah.
And so Tormac's a great company in that regard, because they fill that spot in between. They have the precision and the tolerances of the high-end expensive machines, but they're geared more towards a hobbyist such as me. They're great for prototyping, because they can do whatever you want. They might not be as fast as a big turning center, but they're just as as precise. Yeah. And I'm really excited about what I can learn and do more moving forward, because most of the stuff that I've built is not exactly what you call CNC tolerances on a lot of this stuff. And so it's great now that I've got this new capability in my shop at home.
That's cool.
The last company that's my sponsor now is Keysight. They make electronic test equipment, so oscilloscopes, digital multimeters, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And as it turns out, the guy that's my contact at Keysight was a friend of my son's when they went through high school together. And he was even on the team for one of the events way back when at one of the RoboGames events. So he's kind of peripherally stayed attached to combat robots for years. And so it was kind of cool to have them on board for this season as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Oh, and one question from me. That was... Oh, no, what was it? It keeps coming and going. Ray, I'm so annoyed with myself.
Well, it's late at night for me, and it's early in the morning for you. So,
it's not as early as it should be, though, Ray. I've ruined it all. I need to tell the listeners I woke up 1 hour and 20 minutes late for this interview. And I swore so much. Anyway, it's been amazing of you to come on and talk to me, Ray.
Oh no, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad to be here. Glad to help out. If you have any other questions down the road, no problem. Get in touch with me again.
I've thought of it.
I'm always open for stuff like this. This is fun.
I've remembered it, Ray. Well, 2 questions in fact. The first one was, what's it like having a toy of a robot you've built? Is that not the coolest thing ever?
It is the holy grail for a robot builder. It really is. I mean, you can build a great robot, you can win matches, you can win events, but it's a whole new level when you can walk into a store and see the toy of your robot sitting on the shelf. I mean, I almost can't describe how cool that is. I mean, it's still cool now. Every time I go into a store, I go back to the toys and look just to see if I don't need any more of them. I just want to see if they're there. It's really, really cool. And the thing is, they're fun too. I mean, they did a really good job with them. They're fairly well to scale. They drive really cool. They're a lot of fun to play with. So I mean, I think they're going to sell really well. I think we'll get a lot of them out there, which is really cool. It is.
Has anyone ever seen you in Toys R Us and recognized you as Ray Billings looking at Tombstone?
I get recognized here and there on the street and whatnot.
Yeah.
Haven't had it happen yet in Toys R Us, but once in a while, I'll be at the gas station filling up the truck, and somebody goes, "Hey, aren't you the robot guy?" And it's like, yeah, So I mean, it's. Once in a while, I run into fans that recognize me. To be fair,
you're probably standing there with your giant nut, aren't you?
Yeah, I never. It goes with me everywhere. Yeah. Now it's funny if I'm wearing because I'm not a super high fashion guy. A lot of times I just wear the team T-shirt just cause. So if I'm wearing that shirt and I go into the grocery store or something like that, it's not uncommon for somebody to recognize me.
Yeah.
If I don't have any of the team stuff on, no, it usually doesn't happen. Although it has, I've had people just recognize me out of the blue.
That's pretty funny.
It's interesting, yeah.
When was the first time you said, "Do you want some more?" to someone in a fight?
You know what? I honestly think that was in the Counter Revolution match. Okay, the one on TV.
Okay.
And the thing was, he was done. He couldn't move, and typically we just let you get counted out. He couldn't move anymore, and he's over there going, "No, hit it again," and I'm like, "One more," and he's like, "Yeah, hit it again." So that last hit that spun him through the air like 20 feet and whatnot, all his parts spraying all over the place, that was him just begging me to hit it again so it would look cool for TV.
It's one of those things, like, you don't say it in a like taunting way. You're not like, "Oh, you want some more of this?" You're actually you're not, are you?
For that. Yeah, for that first time, it was just I was clarifying with the other guy. Is it you really want me to hit you again? He's like, "Yes." From that point on, the TV folks are like, "Hey, that's kind of cool. Do that again. Do that again," type of thing. So, It was and it wasn't. I mean, some of it was, yes, it was just me clarifying with the other guy, "Do you really want me to spank your robot again?" And some of it was just, playing up for the camera a little bit because it was right there in my face.
Yeah. Those are my 2 questions. I remembered them. Amazing stuff. Cool. Cheers, Ray. Thanks for coming on. And
hey, no problem. Like I said, any time you want me back again for any time, just let me know. I'll be happy to help you out. This is lots of fun. I love doing stuff like this.
I'll shoot you a message, and maybe after some of your next season 3 fights,
Yeah. You know,
we'll have some chats.
We should hear on season 3. I'm thinking pretty soon. So
I hope so.
Hopefully we. Yeah, and you know, I'm fairly confident it's going to happen, but you know, you never know with TV folks what they're going to do. So.
You've got that one right.
Yeah. It's you know that it's awesome and horrible at the same time. So.
Cool. All right, I'll let you get on with your day anyway, Ray.
Yeah, I'll finish up my work shift and you get ready for work, I guess.
Oh, well, I'm ready. I just need to go. Cool.
All right.
Cheers.
It was good talking to you, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Ray. Bye. So good to have Ray on and just to talk to him about everything, really.
Oh, amazing. And I'm so glad we kept him for a special because we knew that we wanted lots from him. And to be honest, I bet there's loads more we could talk about. And you got up early. We may have got a bit more.
But I was so conscious of the time and stuff as well. It's just...
Because I'd love to hear from... Oh, I know. But I'd love to hear from maybe next time a little bit more about maybe what his son does in the team and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
That was, I felt that was missing a bit.
But I think he really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed talking, just coming on the podcast and stuff. So I think we'll have him back at some point.
Definitely we will do, definitely. So I was really interested in him talking about the beta fight because that was basically him for the closest fight that he had.
Which is, I mean, in this series, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It was like a bit of a wow, that was, but it definitely was a beast fight. But he was right because he did waste Beta at the end of it, didn't he? Completely. So it was like, you know, he did completely trash the top of it. So that was the thing. But also, I really liked the tie-up with Mr. Bales from last week's podcast when he said he was outside with Tombstone in Series 1 when it was all blowing up. And that's when Ray was saying, I was inside going, oh, great. And then his robot was melting outside. So that was pretty cool. Amazing. I don't want to, you know, we've heard it, so it's just really cool. Really
just a massive thanks to Ray for coming on and talking to me, even though I was tardy.
Even though you're tardy. And actually, one of Ray's sponsors, I'm going to say about them again, it's Vex Robotics, which are really exciting, and they're over in the UK as well. So you can get, we're really looking at some of their robot kits for educational stuff, and we're going to be getting some in, looking at those, and we might do a thing on them.
We could do a video or something.
We could do a video on some of those, which would be really cool, and put that out there. And so that's happening soon, and we might even have that to do on the next podcast, which would be cool. So we can talk about that a bit more, and it's an exciting company to be looking at. I think there was a question, though. Was there a question for me?
There was one that applied to you as well, which was the fight preparation stuff.
I do like that there's a question for me and Ray together. You know, he's won some televised fights.
You haven't yet, but...
No, there's always time.
You know, you won the untelevised Robot Wars one.
And I'm with Ray saying, I always go thinking, I'm going to win this time. Yeah. Every time. So, how do I prepare for fights? Well, actually, robot fighting, how do I do it? I get quite tense. I tend to pace around a lot. I tend to start checking the robot a lot. The first time, my first ever televised fight, a robot was for Series 5. I actually was so nervous, I actually went up and threw up in the toilets before, because that was my first ever robot fight.
Yeah.
I mean, ever. I hadn't even driven it properly before that time. And you're going to go in front of millions of people and go... make yourself look like
you're a lot younger then as well.
I was a lot younger then. So, but I find it incredibly exciting. So I get a lot of nervous energy, and I just sort of, and then it goes into a complete focus when you start to fight.
Was it different doing it this time with Esme than when you were not on your own, but you and Rob and?
Do you know what? It was.
I suppose you had Polly there as well. Before.
Yeah, no, I had Polly, but she was quite small before. But I tend to sort of super focus, which is pretty bad. I don't really notice what other people are doing. So I will zone them out completely, really. So they'll have disappeared for me. I won't be able to hear them or do anything. They'll be zoned out. I'll just be looking at the robot.
Okay. Do you have a special Allen key?
I don't have a special Allen key because we don't need Allen keys to do ours. I have my robot safety catch, and I always keep it on my lanyard around my neck. So that's probably my thing, keeping the safety.
Do you put your feet anywhere special like Ray? Or
I don't put my feet anywhere special like Ray, but maybe Ray.
That's what you're missing out on.
Maybe I should keep them attached to the arena.
Yeah.
So I do keep my safety link there. I do get nervous, but it goes into sort of nervous energy of excitement. I zone in quite easily. I'm not like Reason, who needs to wear those kids' earmuffs. So I zone in. And I probably learned my zoning in from watching the master Ian Lewis when he fights. If there's anyone who's zoned in,
he's practically in the arena.
He's in the arena with the robot. And that's how I like to be as well. And I even get the same controller. That's why, because I completely get into that same thing. So you become one with the robot.
Cool.
Awesome.
Was there anything else?
I
I can't think of anything really, apart from just saying thank you everyone for listening, sending in your questions. We had some proper good participation this time.
Yes, that was really good this time, and we really appreciated it. We are looking towards BattleBots Season 3.
Yeah.
So,
Robot
do you know
Wars Season 2.
Robot Wars Season 2. But Robot Wars Season 2, the applications are already going in, so that's happening.
Yep.
We're not going to be able to report to you, I don't think, on who's in or anything like that. We can really pick up stuff and maybe do some interviews with people, but I'm not sure we're going to get that much information. We really want to look forward to BattleBots Season 3, and that means the Inside the Bot application.
Yes.
We are going to be serious about doing an application. Mm-hmm. We do actually want to share details with you guys, which means we want your input as well.
Yes.
So, we were serious before. If you've got any ideas, you may want to keep them to yourself, but just why not slip us a couple of little post-its?
Yeah, just weirdnesses.
Weirdnesses that
cool
we can
little
talk
things.
about. Little things that would be great on a robot. This would be really cool. And you know what? We'll do the design and they might even get in. And, if they're crap, no, that. But do you know what? Someone out there might have a really great plan and we are going to seriously do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? We've got as good a chance as any. That's what I'm going to say.
Now, the issue is, of course, Season 3 hasn't been announced.
No, it hasn't been announced, but like I said before, if you're not planning for Season 3 now, you will not finish a robot. Anyone now, if you're thinking about applying for Season 3, start your designs now, even if that's on paper, if that's in CAD. Do not wait until it's announced, because don't build anything, by the way, don't yet, but have everything ready so when you're told yes, you can push the button. If you haven't started now, you will not get in because you will be behind the game.
Because, when they announced it before, how long was that before filming started?
About 3 months.
Yeah.
That's not enough time to build a heavyweight fighting robot. So start your plans now. You need to have full plans ready to go. You can push the button and go bonk. Or you submit them and Greg and Trey say, hey, we love that, but could you take out the nuclear power station and put in a conventional drive? And you're going, oh yeah, that will change the shape a bit, but let's do it. So you know what you need to do. Start doing it now. We want Season 3. Look forward to that. So there you go. And cool. I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. If you got any more questions, comments, or the Season 3 application stuff, you want to email about that, insidethebot@gmail.com, or our Facebook and Twitter pages. And I think that's it, really. And
to be honest, it would be really cool, guys, if you could like and share our posts as well, because I think we can really get some.
That'd be cool, yeah.
That'd be really brilliant. That'd be
amazing. All right, cheers, guys.
Cheers, buds
and girls.
Indeed.
Catch you all later. I've been Will Sedgwick.
I'm Gabe,
and this has been Inside the Bot.